The president now doubling down on the comments he made earlier in the week to meet the Hermit Kingdom's aggression with fire and fury. Listen.
Frankly, the people that were questioning that statement, was it too tough? Maybe it wasn't tough enough. They've been doing this to our country for a long time, for many years. And it's about time that somebody stuck up for the people of this country and for the people of other countries. So, if anything, maybe that statement wasn't tough enough.
This as Guam is facing a direct threat from North Korea. Today's front page of the Pacific Daily News reads this: 14 minutes, the time it would take for a missile to reach the U.S. territory of Guam. Joining me right now is the Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Tenorio. Lieutenant Governor, thanks very much for joining us this morning. The president, of course, has been focused on this all week. Has the president reached out to you with a plan if tension increases?
Well, good evening from Guam and today. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We are in communication with the Department of Defense through the Joint Region Marianas. We're in contact with the military leaders here, Admiral Chatfield of the United States Navy, and of course we're corresponding with our Civil Defense and Homeland Security. Directly, no, we haven't spoken to the president, but we appreciate the defense of our country and the Department of Defense and the work that they're doing. We have confidence in them.
Well, China says reportedly that it's going to stay neutral if North Korea launches an attack that threatens the United States. This is coming from the state-run newspaper. But if the U.S. strikes first, China will reportedly defend Kim Jong-un's regime. Do you have any confidence in the Chinese to protect Guam? And what do you want to say to the Chinese right now, knowing that this is 14 minutes and North Korea continues to threaten Guam?
Well, Guam is a resort destination. It's absolutely paradise. We know that we have a great country, and really the demon here is not the president or China in this case. It's Kim Jong-un and the North Korean regime. We've been receiving these kind of threats, as many people have. Many of our neighbors in Asia have been on the receiving end of the threats, but we know that the multiple layers of defense that protect our island, along with the rest of our partners and our allies in the region, we have confidence in them. My son is in a country in South Korea, and his wife and their child are also protected from the same levels of defense and the layers of defense as we are here in Guam. With respect to China and the relationship they're going to have with North Korea, we assume that diplomatic channels will do their jobs and we won't come to that point.
Lieutenant Governor, it's Dagan McDowell, but how do you compare the threats that you are hearing from the Hermit Kingdom, from North Korea, the Kim regime today to history? And at what level, how much more grave are they, given what we've heard even in the last week?
Well, there's a lot more specificity, there's a lot more detail in this threat, but we've had these threats before. I was talking again to my son, he said, you know, we've heard it so much that we no longer pay attention because they're usually just saber rattling, and that's what we're used to. We know that we have one of the strongest dedicated American technology, the military. We know that our men and women are prepared, they're mission ready. We know that they're, of course, with the kind of details that they talked about. I think the 15th is the date that we're projecting if they said that they're going to fire these missiles. But even with that, we have a safe and protected island. Our economy is growing. The number of tourists that are coming to our island, especially from South Korea, actually is ballooned. We got historic numbers. Our economy is growing. So I think really this is an attempt on North Korea's part to ratchet things up. But I think the diplomatic channels that President Trump talked about are the ones that we're hoping, along with sanctions, that will work and not a war.
Lieutenant Governor, it's Kevin Kelly. Isn't the reason why the North Koreans have chose Guam is because it serves as a giant key asset for us, as well as we have several of the bombers that would launch a counterstrike against them from Guam? So isn't it because the importance of Guam that we're seeing them want to attack the island?
I think we kind of had some universal threats from North Korea. They've talked about attacking Seoul. They talked about attacking them. They fired missiles over Japan. If we were any other place by any other name, we're a national asset. We're a patriotic community. We have a lot of military members here, but we have 160,000 residents, and every one of them are part of our United States family. So when we get into these geopolitical issues, especially when there's tensions between countries, in this case, United States, our nation, and North Korea, I think they're going to lash out at anybody. But of course, we do have Andersen Air Force Base. We have Naval Station. We're building a new Marine base right now, and a lot of that has built a lot of attention to our island. And I think Kim Jong-un's talked about those same bombers that are flying out of here. So with respect to your question, yeah, I'm sure that's on his mind when he's making these threats.
Lieutenant Governor, it's Mike Baker. How would you assess the mood or the level of anxiety amongst the population there on Guam?
The people of Guam know that they're protected. They know that they're safe. There are threats, but again, we faced these threats before. There's more anxiety, I think, a little bit more than there was in the past, only because of the specificity and the details. But people really believe, as we all do, in our country and the military assets and the technology. We know that our men and women are trained for these missions. We know that in case of any type of attack, that we will be defended, that the multiple layers of protection through all of our different people who've gone for generations and improved their technologies are going to make it possible for our island to do exactly what we're doing. Today, you go down to Tumon, the tourists are on the beach, they're in the stores, you see people going to work, people feel safe. Of course, there's anybody threatened in any community is going to feel some level of anxiety, but I think that's really not what's driving them. We want to go to school, we want to go to work, we want to have the peace that our island is feeling right now, and know that diplomacy ultimately is what we want to get to resolve these issues.
Any plans to conduct civil defense drills?
We've been actually preparing for a long time. We got all threats, civil defense, homeland security, Guam police, emergency medical services, everybody. And one thing, too, is we have a very hardened infrastructure. Guam, many times, is subject to typhoons and other earthquakes. So we have very rigid construction standards, steel reinforced concrete. The way that our buildings, the one that I'm in right now, has been and will be a fallout shelter. And most homes around the island are very, very structurally sound. So there's, insofar as drills, I mean, you can get access to all kind of preparedness. And people, we all have access to running water and the kind of things we need in case of a calamity. But, we're in communication with our Joint Region Marianas and Department of Defense officials and military assets. And if there's any kind of messaging, we're going to make sure that everybody understands what's happening and when it's happening.
So is there anything you can do to protect yourself at this point? Anything additional have you done?
Well, we prepared. We've got an island-wide system, alerts. We understand, social media is the way that everybody gets everything nowadays. If there's anything that needs to be done right now, is just we're hoping that diplomatic channels and sanctions and cooler heads in North Korea will prevail. And that we really don't hope and we don't believe that these 4 missiles that Kim Jong-un is basically threatened to send, I think he said 30 to 40 kilometers, 19 to 25 miles outside of Guam, will be shot. And that is our hope.
All right, we will leave it there. Governor, good to talk with you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll be watching. Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Ray Tenorio there, and Mark.